What my neighbor did during the storm left me utterly astonished. You won't believe what unfolded. Remember to give the video a thumbs up, share your opinions in the comments, and subscribe to keep up with our newest tales. I've always been captivated by storms, the intensity, the sheer force, the way they disrupt the ordinary and breathe freshness into everything. However, what transpired during that specific storm altered everything, and it was unrelated to thunder or lightning. It revolved around a theme that was profoundly distinct, deeply human, surprising, and filled with exquisite emotion. My name is Diane, I'm 47 years old, and I've spent the last decade in the charming suburban town of Willow Creek. Life here unfolds at a leisurely pace, a quality I often find soothing. However, recently, I had started to feel a sense of unease, as if there was an absence, something elusive that I couldn't quite identify. On that Friday night, I found myself at home, solitary and engrossed in a rerun of a classic black and white film, when, without warning, the lights flickered and then extinguished completely. Wonderful, I mused, as I searched for candles. Exactly what I was looking for. I looked out the window and saw the wind gaining strength, causing the trees to sway dramatically under the looming, dark sky. Once I lit a few candles, I enveloped myself in an old quilt my mother had gifted me years ago and settled onto the couch, prepared to weather the storm. The rain began to pound against the roof, each droplet striking with a persistent cadence, reminiscent of a harmonious orchestra. Out of nowhere, amidst the relentless drumming of the rain, a loud banging echoed at my front door. My heart skipped a beat. Who would be out in a flashlight? I cautiously moved toward the front door and peeked through the window. There stood Mark, my neighbor from 2 doors down, on my porch, soaked to the skin. Mark had settled in a few months back, a reserved and amiable gentleman in his early 50s who tended to stay under the radar. We had shared readings and engaged in light conversation, yet I had never experienced a genuine dialogue with him. I swung the door open, taken aback by his drenched appearance. His dark hair adhered to his forehead, while his shirt clung snugly to his chest. He appeared flustered, his cheeks tinged with color even in the soft glow of the candles. "Diane, I truly apologize for interrupting you," he said, his voice barely audible over the fierce wind. "However, a tree has just fallen across my driveway, completely blocking the road. I'm experiencing a power outage as well, and my phone has run out of battery." I found myself at a loss for where to turn next. I acted without a moment's pause. "Step inside, Mark, or you'll freeze to death out there." As he entered, I promptly offered him a plush towel. He dried himself with a hint of clumsiness, offering another apology. I hesitated to impose, yet absurdity. I comforted him gently. "We live next to each other. If we cannot support one another in times of turmoil, then what purpose do we serve?" Mark's shoulders visibly eased at my words, and I led him into the living room. In the flickering glow of the candlelight, his features took on a gentler appearance. I had never realized how vividly blue his eyes were, or how the lines at the corners suggested a wealth of untold stories. He reclined on the couch, a faint tremor still coursing through him. "You'd think I'd be better prepared at my age," he joked quietly, rubbing his hands together. I offered a soft smile. "Storms invariably take us by surprise," I responded, reflecting not just on the tempest outside but also on the turmoil within me these days. I presented him with a steaming cup of tea that I had skillfully prepared just before the power cut out. He grasped it with appreciation, the warmth restoring a flush to his cheeks. With the wind howling outside, our conversation began, shifting from the storm to our own stories. Mark had recently relocated to Willow Creek to begin anew after the loss of his wife 5 years prior. I was taken aback by his openness. He spoke with a gentle reverence for his late wife, paying tribute to her memory with a soft respect, yet an undercurrent of solitude echoed profoundly within me. In return, I revealed that I had been divorced for 7 years. following a marriage that gradually transformed into friendship instead of love. We drifted away, I confessed quietly, gazing into my cup of tea. Isn't it amusing how loneliness can quietly creep in on you? Mark nodded with contemplation, his gaze warm and empathetic. He concurred that it is the silence that poses the greatest challenge. Particularly on evenings such as this. A soothing silence enveloped us, punctuated by the soft patter of rain, and the warm glow of candlelight. A sensation stirred within me. A warmth I hadn't experienced in years. Still, I remained wary, fearful of misinterpreting this newfound closeness that appeared to develop so effortlessly between us. At last, Mark shattered the stillness, his voice soft and uncertain. Diane, I appreciate you allowing me to join this evening. You didn't need to. I reached out spontaneously, resting my hand softly on his arm. I'm truly thankful you decided to knock, I confessed sincerely. The reality is that storms such as these evoke a sense of solitude that I often experience. Sharing it with someone is truly enjoyable. Mark placed his hand softly over mine, the warmth of his touch sending a gentle electric pulse through me. Me too, he whispered, reading my eyes. Sincerity shining through every word. I've found myself spending many nights alone recently, and it's curious how at ease I feel sharing this conversation with you. A gentle thrill coursed through me, caught off guard and touched by the profound nature of our bond. Outside, thunder rumbled with a fierce intensity, breaking the stillness and amplifying the weight of the moment. I was inexplicably attracted to Mark, a sensation I hadn't experienced with anyone in quite a while. As the wind howled with increasing intensity and lightning cast eerie shadows across the room, we both sensed the fragility and unpredictability of this moment. A warm flush spread across my cheeks, catching me off guard with an unexpected shyness. Mark cleared his throat softly, picking up on my uncertainty. Diane, he murmured gently, shattering the quiet between us. I don't want to add any complexity to our lives, but I genuinely wish to understand you more deeply. Perhaps we could explore where this might lead, if that's something you're open to. His sincerity moved me profoundly, causing tears to well up in my eyes that I swiftly blinked away. I would truly appreciate that, Mark, I murmured with sincerity. We'll wait and see how we feel once the storm has passed. He smiled with warmth, a deep understanding reflected in his eyes. Absolutely. There's no need to rush. Without any expectations. We passed the remainder of that tempestuous night together, sharing tales and quietly nurturing a bond that felt both fresh and reassuringly known. A sensation within me awakened with hope and possibility, a feeling I had almost forgotten. As dawn drew near, the storm began to wane, both in the world beyond and within the heart. However, the real revelation of the evening, the one that took me aback the most, wasn't the howling storm or the toppled trees, but the unforeseen warmth I found with Mark. I was unaware of the profound transformation that awaited us, yet there was one truth I held firmly in my heart. The tempest had ushered in an unforeseen change, and there was no turning back now. Morning crept in softly, ushering in a delicate glow of sunlight that filtered through my curtains, casting intricate patterns on the wooden floor. Outside, branches are strewn across yards, leaves covering the streets, a testament to the chaotic weather of the previous night. Yet within my abode, the traces of the tempest revealed an alternate narrative, one of fragility, comfort, and unforeseen camaraderie. Mark departed soon after the sun began to rise, heading to evaluate the damage at his home. Yet, even after the door clicked shut, his essence remained woven into my thoughts. The way his eyes locked onto mine as he spoke, the genuine softness in his voice, these subtle nuances played over and over in my thoughts, bringing a private smile to my face as I sipped my morning coffee. That afternoon, while I collected fallen branches from the yard, I spotted Mark making his way back, moving slowly down the street. His footsteps hesitated for a moment at my property line, then resumed with a steady assurance as he approached me. Greetings once more, he said, a warm smile gracing his face. It seems you have a significant task ahead of you. I chuckled gently, pushing stray strands of hair away from my face. It's not too terrible. How is your home coming along? Honestly, it's not great. He let out a sigh, massaging the back of his neck while wearing a wry smile. The tree has caused significant damage, taking down my fence and affecting a portion of the roof. I will be occupied for some time. To my own astonishment, I replied without hesitation. Allow me to assist you. 2 sets of hands are more effective than just one. Mark appeared surprised by my proposal, but then a warm sense of gratitude eased his features. Are you certain, Diane? You have more than enough of your own chaos. I positioned my hands confidently on my hips, teasingly daring him to respond. Certainly. Additionally, I am grateful to you for your companionship last night. His face lit up with a sincere smile. Soft lines appearing around his blue eyes. In that case, I humbly accept. As we strolled together toward Mark's house, I couldn't help but ponder how effortless it was to be in his company. Even though we had only just met. Being with him brought a sense of comfort I hadn't felt in ages, making the upcoming challenge seem far less intimidating. Mark's property was in a dilapidated condition. A colossal tree sprawled over his driveway, its splintered wood and contorted branches strewn across the yard. He surveyed his surroundings. A subtle shake of his head accompanying his unwavering optimism. It seems that the forces of nature had different intentions for my weekend. We shared a quiet chuckle, reveling in a moment of shared delight. Before long, we set to work, trimming and shifting branches, clearing away debris, and ultimately forming small heaps by the curb. Time flew by. Our dialogue unfolding effortlessly as though we had been acquainted for ages. During our breaks, Mark shared more stories from his past, and I revealed my own dreams and fears. Things I hadn't voiced to anyone in years. The connection that began in the soft glow of last night's candles grew steadily under the vast sky, fortified by shared understanding and a gentle trust. As we lingered in the late afternoon, resting against the porch railing and enjoying cold lemonade, Mark's expression became contemplative, his eyes drifting toward the sky. Isn't it amusing? He pondered softly. At times, the most tumultuous tempests reveal the clearest insights. I followed his gaze upward, observing the clear sky where only hours before, clouds had unleashed their fury. I found myself contemplating something quite alike, I confessed gently, turning to meet his gaze. At times, it seems that a touch of disorder is necessary to awaken our deep desire for connection. Mark turned toward me, his eyes gently searching my face, perhaps catching a glimpse of the unspoken vulnerability I had concealed from others for years. Diane. I've dedicated a considerable amount of time persuading myself that I could stand alone. That isolation was power. He hesitated, his voice faltering just a bit. However, being in your presence makes me come to terms with the fact that I've been deceiving myself. My breath hitched in my throat, touched by the gentle honesty in his words. Gradually, I extended my hand, resting it softly atop his. His fingers curled gently around mine, a warmth emanating from that simple touch. Perhaps we both required that tempest more than we realized, I whispered softly, gazing at our intertwined fingers. His voice carried a softness, imbued with contemplation. Perhaps it's destiny, Diane. Life jolts us into awareness, highlighting what we've overlooked. We paused in silence, taking in the profoundness of the experience. A quiet tension enveloped the stillness, a fragile expectation that resonated more profoundly than any spoken phrase. At last, Mark shattered the silence, his voice soft and personal. Would it be okay if I invited you to dinner sometime, Diane? I would truly appreciate the opportunity to meet with you again. In a more purposeful environment. Instantly, my heart warmed, and a smile began to spread slowly across my face. I would really appreciate that, Mark. His expression lit up. A blend of relief and excitement washing over him. Well, he remarked quietly, a soft chuckle escaping him. To be honest, I felt a bit anxious that you might decline. I gently clasped his hand, offering a sense of comfort. Not a chance. Not after all that we've experienced together. The sun started its descent toward the horizon, enveloping Mark's yard in a warm golden hue, softly shimmering in his eyes. A delicate tenderness blossomed between us, an unexpected yet vivid bond that neither of us had foreseen. Still, it resonated with sincerity, undeniably genuine. As I strolled home that evening, a sense of lightness and hope enveloped me. Life has astonished me in the most delightful manner, showcasing how warmth, kindness, and unforeseen connections can profoundly enrich our existence, especially during moments we least anticipate them. As I settled in for the night, my thoughts drifted to Mark, reflecting on his kindness, openness, and authentic vulnerability. It had been quite a while since I felt this optimistic about someone. Could this storm genuinely have altered the course of everything? I lacked all the answers, yet for the first time in years, I felt a strong desire to seek them out. In the stillness of my bedroom, where the gentle murmur of evening crickets floated in through the open window, I offered a quiet expression of gratitude. To the tempest, to destiny, and above all to Mark. Unbeknownst to me, the profound emotional journey was only at its inception, and what lay ahead would transform us in ways we had yet to fathom. The subsequent days flowed by quickly, with thoughts of Mark delicately intertwining with each passing moment. A smile crept onto my face, unbidden, as I found myself lost in the echoes of our conversations and the gentle warmth of his presence. I hadn't expected to feel this way at 47, like a scoundrel anxiously awaiting a phone call. But here I was, my heart fluttering every time I glanced toward his house. At last, the much-anticipated day of our dinner had come. Mark proposed that we visit the delightful little Italian spot downtown, a warm, family-run eatery celebrated for its gentle lighting and inviting ambience. I hadn't experienced this level of nerves or excitement in quite some time. That evening, I dressed with intention, selecting a simple yet elegant blue dress that highlighted the brightness in my eyes. I gazed at my reflection in the mirror, observing how the excitement had mellowed my features, bestowing upon me a youthful radiance I had nearly forgotten. As Mark arrived to pick me up, standing at my doorstep with a gentle smile, I felt my breath catch. He donned a sharp navy button-down shirt, sleeves nonchalantly rolled up, paired with dark slacks that accentuated his strong, understated presence. He presented me with a solitary rose, rich in crimson hue and subtly aromatic. "You look beautiful, Diane," he said quietly, sincerity evident in his warm gaze. Warmth crept into my cheeks as I took the rose, breathing in its delightful scent. "Thanks, Mark. You appear rather dashing yourself." In the cozy ambience of the restaurant, we nestled into a corner table, embraced by the gentle glow of soft golden lights. Soft melodies floated through the air, crafting an atmosphere that welcomed vulnerability and closeness. The dialogue unfolded seamlessly, marked by bursts of laughter and instances of silent comprehension. Mark's eyes glimmered with a soft wit as he reminisced about his younger days, and I found myself sharing tales from my own life, taken aback by how effortlessly openness flowed in our conversation. As we progressed through our meal, Mark's demeanor shifted to one of deep thought, a subtle pause flickering across his face. He set his fork down softly, locking his gaze with mine in a moment of deep contemplation. "Diane," he started with caution, "there's something I feel compelled to tell you. Something that has occupied my thoughts ever since the storm." I halted, my heart racing unexpectedly. "Though on," I urged gently, attempting to mask the subtle unease that began to surface. He inhaled deeply and slowly, as though he were collecting his thoughts. "It has been years since I've permitted myself to experience these feelings for someone. Since the passing of my beloved Lisa, I've been emotionally restrained. I believed that closing myself off from vulnerability was a way to shield myself from hurt. However, after our encounter, I I've come to understand that I've been withholding something vital from myself. His honesty resonated within me, prompting an instinctive gesture as I reached across the table, softly laying my hand over his. Mark, I appreciate you sharing this with me. It's completely understandable to feel cautious after experiencing the loss of someone you cherished deeply. However, embracing vulnerability and allowing ourselves to experience profound emotions is what imbues life with significance. His gaze softened with gratitude, a wave of relief sweeping over his features. You're absolutely correct, Diane, and this evening holds significant importance for me. I've decided to let my guard down once more, to embrace the possibility of experiencing something profound with you again. His words filled me with a profound sense of warmth, causing my heart to swell with emotion. I felt precisely the same. I whispered, a mix of vulnerability and safety enveloping me in his presence. I have devoted so much time to feigning that I was completely okay by myself. Yet, beneath the surface, I've been yearning for genuine connection. And when you appeared amidst that tempest, I understood what had been absent from my life. We enjoyed a serene moment of shared understanding. Our fingers gently intertwined on the tablecloth, relishing the fresh intimacy that had blossomed between us. Following dinner, we strolled leisurely through the town, illuminated by the gentle glow of street lamps. The evening air was refreshingly cool, with a soft breeze whispering through the leaves surrounding us. My hand instinctively sought out Mark's, our fingers weaving together effortlessly. It resonated deeply, both straightforward and richly significant. As we strolled by a quaint park, bathed in the gentle glow of moonlight, Mark came to a halt, turning softly in my direction. In the tranquil hush, he lifted his hand to tenderly sweep a lock of hair from my face, his fingertips lingering softly against my cheek. Diane, he murmured, his voice soft and genuine, encountering you has awakened in me the warmth of sharing life with another. I was not prepared for this. I never imagined it could be done. Now that you're here, I want to hold on to this feeling tightly. My breath caught, heartbeat. The pace quickened at the sincerity that shone brightly in his eyes. Neither do I, Mark. You've unlocked emotions within me that I believed were gone for good. Gradually, he inched nearer, hesitating just a bit, as though seeking my approval. With unwavering resolve, I lifted my face, gently connecting with his lips. Our kiss was soft, considerate, yet brimming with a profound, subtle intensity that conveyed so much. In that fleeting instant under the shimmering moonlight, the solitude that had characterized our recent years dissipated, absent entirely. As we separated, Mark softly pressed his forehead against mine, his eyes shut, as though relishing the richness of the experience. He confessed quietly, I never thought I would feel this way again. Same here, I murmured in response. Fingertips gently stroking the contours of his face, tenderly. Thank you for seizing the opportunity. As we strolled home, fingers intertwined under the twinkling stars, a wave of emotion washed over me. Transformed, brighter, optimistic, and emotionally enlightened. Our unforeseen evening unfolded softly, opened pathways inside us, inviting warmth and intimacy to pour into spaces we had long protected with great care. At my doorstep, Mark paused, turning to face me with a gentle expression. Thank you, Diane, for this evening. For all things. I smiled gently, holding his hand with tenderness. This evening marks the start, Mark. I genuinely have faith in that. As he strolled back toward his abode, a deep sense of gratitude enveloped my heart. Life possessed. It caught me off guard, leaving us both astonished in a manner we never thought could happen. I experienced a sense of renewal, an emotional awakening, and a profound connection that made my heart race with anticipation for what is to come. At that moment, I had no idea that our adventure was only starting. And the most significant revelation was right around the corner. The weeks that followed felt like a surreal dream, with each day bursting with more vibrancy and life than the one before. Mark and I cherished every moment we had together, enjoying long walks, tranquil evenings, and a comfortable companionship that I had almost forgotten could exist. My once solitary world had blossomed into something warmer, richer, and far more fulfilling. On a bright afternoon, while we sipped coffee on my front porch, Mark turned to me with a contemplative look, his expression both tender and earnest. "It's curious, Diane, how our lives intertwined on that tempestuous evening. It feels as though destiny has chosen to intervene." I smiled gently, settling in comfortably beside him. I had the same thought. I never anticipated that a tempest would usher in something so magnificent into my existence. He held my hand with a tender grip. I didn't either. Years have passed since I experienced such a deep connection with someone, and now the thought of returning to anything less feels unimaginable. The stillness of our contemplation was broken by the rumble of distant thunder, a sudden reminder of the night when our journey commenced. Clouds amassed gradually in the sky. Their soft rumble a comforting reminder of the beauty that can emerge from disorder. Later that evening, as the rain softly drummed against the window panes, Mark caught me off guard by revealing an old photograph from his wallet. His expression carried a gentle warmth and a hint of longing as he passed it to me. "This was Lisa," he spoke softly, a tender respect in his tone. "This photo has been with me every day since she passed, but tonight feels like the right moment to finally let go." I meticulously scrutinized the faded photograph. Lisa was a delightful woman with a heartfelt, sincere smile. Someone who was unmistakably adored and profoundly valued. My heart swelled with understanding and appreciation for Mark's candidness. "She possessed an exquisite beauty, Mark. She must have held a unique place in your heart," I murmured with genuine feeling. He nodded softly, his gaze contemplative. "She existed. She showed me the significance of loving freely and without remorse. For years, I believed that sensation would be lost to me forever. However, Diane, I have discovered something truly remarkable about you. You've revived my spirit." Tears clouded my sight as I carefully returned the photograph to his grasp. "Mark, I truly appreciate you sharing this with me, it means a lot. I wish to acknowledge what you've experienced, what you've endured, and treasure what we are creating side by side." He gazed at me intently, his eyes glimmering gently. "That's precisely how I feel, Diane. Encountering you has revealed to me that love knows no bounds. Our hearts grow, they do not diminish. I never thought I could experience such profound emotions once more. Yet, here we stand. And it feels just as it should." As we embraced, my heart swelled, holding each other tenderly while the rain gently washed across the windows. It was a moment filled with serene appreciation. A collective recognition of loss, evolution, and the intricate beauty of rediscovering love. Weeks later, Mark extended an invitation for a weekend escape to a cabin tucked away in the nearby mountains. The atmosphere was idyllic, serene, and profoundly enchanting. We dedicated hours to exploring picturesque trails, sharing laughter, and engaging in profound conversations under a sky filled with stars that appeared almost within reach. On our final evening, as we nestled beside the crackling fireplace, enveloped in a soft quilt, Mark turned to me, his eyes radiating warmth yet tinged with vulnerability. "Diane, these last few months have changed me in ways I never imagined. I never imagined I would encounter someone who comprehends me as you do. You've rekindled my spirit and brought an abundance of joy into my life that I never imagined could exist." Feelings surged inside me, my eyes glistening with joy. "I share your sentiments completely. Mark, you've returned me to my true self. I cannot envision my existence without you in it now." He delved into his pocket, retrieving a petite velvet box. My heart soared, breath hitching as excitement surged within me. Mark's voice quivered just a bit, with authenticity shining through each word. Diane, fate intertwined our paths in the most surprising manner. Amidst a tempest, a fallen tree, and a soft rap on your door. I believe with all my heart that we were meant to find each other. So tonight, I want to ask you, will you marry me? As I nodded enthusiastically, laughter bubbled softly from within me, and tears flowed freely down my cheeks, a testament to my overwhelming joy. Absolutely, Mark, without a doubt, I will marry you. He placed a delicate, sparkling ring on my finger, then wrapped me softly in his embrace. We kissed passionately, exuberantly, under the gentle radiance of the fire. Affirming our promise to welcome the unforeseen, exquisite adventure that life had bestowed upon us. Upon our return, we joyfully conveyed our exciting news to friends and neighbors. Their heartfelt congratulations resonated with the profound joy we both experienced within. Yet, in our hearts, we recognized that our genuine celebration was much more subdued, profoundly richer. A collective acknowledgement of love that emerged from vulnerability, transparency, and the bravery to be emotionally honest. Months later, we exchanged vows in a cozy, intimate ceremony in our backyard, surrounded by a handful of cherished friends, neighbors, and family. Our vows captured our journey, sincere, genuine, and profoundly moving. As I stood before Mark, gazing into his eyes, I realized with certainty that this tempest, both in the skies and within our hearts, had led us precisely to the place we were meant to be. As the evening deepened and twilight enveloped us in its gentle embrace, Mark took my hand with a tender touch, his smile radiating warmth towards me. Prepared for whatever lies ahead, Mrs. Anderson. I held his hand tenderly, overwhelmed with gratitude.